There is a person you have met, maybe a person you are. Someone who has read the books, who knows what a Roth is, who can explain compound interest at a dinner party without breaking a sweat. Someone who runs the numbers better than everyone around them, and who is somehow still nearly broke at 40. Not because they are lazy, because they are smart. The exact intelligence that earned the degree and the salary is quietly walking them toward the wrong problems. And a wrong problem, solved perfectly, leaves you precisely where you started. Consider what being good at school actually trains into a person. It teaches one narrow skill, repeated for 16 years until it stops feeling like a skill and starts feeling like who you are. You learn to find the clean answer to a clearly defined question. The test asks something, the answer exists. You locate it, you get rewarded, you move on to the next one. Do that long enough, and the mind develops a single appetite. It starts to crave problems that can be solved. Wealth is not that kind of problem. Wealth is slow, dull, and almost entirely outside your control on any given day. No clean answer sits waiting to be found. No exam can be aced. So the trained mind does something clever and quietly ruinous. It trades the real problem for a fake one that feels nearly identical. The fake problem is interesting. The fake problem can be worked at a desk, alone, with a spreadsheet open. And solving it produces a warm sensation of progress, while the actual distance between you and wealth never moves an inch. Watch how this plays out, because it has a shape, and once you see the shape, you cannot unsee it in yourself. The first wrong problem is the one that feels the most responsible, the return. The smart person becomes obsessed with the rate, which fund, which allocation, whether the average is 7% or 9%, whether the fees are eating the gains. They will read forum threads at midnight comparing two index funds that differ by a rounding error. They treat the choice of investment as the thing that decides everything. It almost never is. The lever that actually moves an ordinary life is not the return. It is the savings rate, meaning the slice of every paycheck you refuse to spend. Someone who saves a quarter of an average income will pass someone who saves a 20th of a large income, given enough time, every single time. The math is not close, but the savings rate is boring. It requires no cleverness, no research, no edge. It just requires not spending money you already decided you wanted to spend. So the smart mind skips past the lever that works and pours its energy into the lever that flatters it. Picture the engineer who decides to buy his first rental property. He spends 7 months building a model, cap rates, vacancy assumptions, 3 neighborhoods cross-referenced against school districts and crime data. The model is genuinely beautiful. By the time he is satisfied, prices in all 3 neighborhoods have climbed past the point his model said was reasonable. So he goes back and rebuilds the model. Meanwhile, the person who bought a perfectly average house 8 months ago, knowing far less than he does, is already collecting rent. He did not lose because he was wrong. He lost because he solved a problem that did not need that much solving, and the solving itself was the delay. That brings up the second wrong problem, and this one wears a disguise. It looks exactly like ambition, the income problem. The smart person decides the answer is simply more, a bigger salary, the next promotion, another certification stacked onto the last one, a side project that might, if everything breaks right, replace the main job. Every move here feels like progress, because the number on the paycheck goes up, and a rising number is the most satisfying thing a results-trained brain can look at. But there is a quiet difference most high earners never sit with. Income is money you receive for trading your hours. Assets are things you own that produce money whether you show up or not. A salary, no matter how large, is the first kind. It stops the day you stop. So you get the surgeon pulling in a fortune a year, working brutal hours and owning almost nothing that pays her while she sleeps. Her entire wealth strategy is her own exhaustion. The day her hands stop, the income stops with them. She solved the income problem with stunning success and never once touched the ownership problem underneath it. The raise she keeps chasing is the wrong problem wearing the costume of the obvious one. And the cruel part is that earning more often makes it worse, because the lifestyle expands to swallow the raise and the treadmill just spins faster. More income with no ownership is not freedom. It is a more expensive cage with better lighting. Now the third wrong problem, which is the one that does the most damage while looking the most like virtue. Certainty. For the smart person, information is a drug, and the high feels like diligence. One more book, one more analysis, one more month watching before committing. The perfect entry point, the perfect moment, the setup where every variable lines up and the risk finally drops to zero. They are not avoiding the decision. In their own mind, they are preparing for it, responsibly. Markets do not reward certainty, they reward time spent inside them. The person who invests an imperfect amount today into an imperfect choice will usually finish far ahead of the person who waits 4 years for clarity that never arrives. Because those 4 years out of the market are an invisible cost. Nobody sends you a bill for the growth you missed. There is no painful moment, no obvious loss, so the smart person never feels the price of waiting. They feel only the comfort of being thorough. You can watch this destroy people slowly. The lawyer who has been researching her investment strategy for 6 years, genuinely researching. She could lecture on asset allocation. She has read more than most financial advisors. She has invested almost nothing because she has never reached the moment where she felt sure. And she has quietly mistaken that feeling of unsureness for a fact about the world, rather than a fact about her own wiring. The certainty she is waiting for is not coming. It was never part of the deal. Which leads to the fourth wrong problem. And this one is the most flattering of all, which is exactly why it is the most expensive. Sophistication. The smart person looks at the simple answer and feels insulted by it. Buy a broad index fund, meaning a single investment that quietly owns a slice of hundreds of companies at once, and just keep buying it for 30 years. That is most of the answer for most people. And the intelligent mind recoils, because the answer is so plain it offers nothing to be intelligent about. There is no skill to display, no edge to discover, no way to feel exceptional. So they go looking for something worthy of their brain, options strategies, day trading, picking individual winners, elaborate structures and exotic plays that promise the sophisticated person a sophisticated reward. And here is what the data has said over and over for decades. Most professional fund managers, people who do this full-time with teams and tools you will never have, fail to beat the boring index over the long run. If the experts cannot outsmart the simple answer, the talented amateur doing it on a Sunday afternoon has no chance worth betting a life on. The boring answer wins. It just refuses to make you feel clever while it does. Step back now and look at all 4 of these together, because the pattern is the whole point. The return problem, the income problem, the certainty problem, the sophistication problem. Notice what every single one of them has in common. Each is intellectually interesting. Each can be worked on alone, at a desk, in your own head with no one watching. And each produces the precise feeling of progress without ever requiring the uncomfortable thing. Now notice what the real problem looks like by contrast. It is boring. It is repetitive. It is slow enough that you cannot feel it working. It mostly asks you to do an unremarkable thing over and over for years, while nothing visibly happens. It offers your intelligence nothing to chew on, no puzzle to crack, no moment of brilliance to enjoy. The mind that was trained to solve will always avoid the one problem it cannot solve. And wealth, for almost everyone, is not a problem to be solved. It is a behavior to be repeated. You do not outthink it. You outlast it. This is why intelligence, the thing you were told was your greatest asset, becomes the precise mechanism that keeps you ordinary. Not because you are doing nothing, because you are doing the wrong something, with real effort, and the effort itself convinces you that you are on your way. And the trap has one more layer, which is why so few people ever climb out of it. The trap defends itself using the same intelligence that built it. Point this out to a smart person and watch what happens. They do not change the behavior. They get smarter about the behavior. They start researching the psychology of why smart people fail with money. They optimize their own procrastination into a system. They build a more sophisticated explanation for why their case is different, why the simple answer does not apply to their unusual situation, why a little more analysis really is warranted this time. The intelligence turns inward and constructs a better cage with their own hands. They will even watch a video like this one, recognize themselves with a small jolt, feel the sting of being seen, and then file the whole thing under things they now understand. Understanding it becomes the new way of not doing it. The only exit is the one that feels stupid. It is doing the boring thing before you feel ready. Saving the unglamorous amount this month instead of designing the perfect plan. Buying the plain investment today instead of researching it for another year. Owning something that pays you instead of only earning more that you spend. Repeating the unremarkable action long after it has stopped being interesting, which is roughly the same moment most clever people quit and go looking for a better idea. None of that will make you feel smart. That is the entire problem. Your intelligence is constantly searching for a version of wealth building that lets it stay the hero of the story. And there isn't one. The real version asks you to be patient and unspectacular in a way that offends everything school taught you to value. So the question was never whether you are smart enough to build wealth. You already are. Everyone watching this already is. The people quietly getting rich around you are not solving harder problems than you can solve. They are solving easier ones. On purpose. For longer than you have been willing to. They picked the boring problem and stayed with it, while you went looking for an interesting one. The day you stop trying to outsmart it is usually the day it finally starts to work. And the reason almost no one reaches that day is simple. And it is the one thing worth carrying out of all of this. The wrong problem will always feel more interesting than the right one. That is exactly how it keeps you.